Thursday, 2017, I took him down to the cancer clinic for his normal infusion. And he had told me on the way down there that, well, I know that they're going to want to give me platelets tomorrow, but I'm going to have to push him back to Monday because I have to go to work tomorrow. And we had always joked that he was going to work up until the minute he died, and I believe he did. So that was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and he called me at 10:30 to talk to me about something, and because we had a little argument on the way down there about something else that was going on in our family. And when I dropped him off, I kissed him on the forehead and I said, "Don't cause any trouble today." And I would tell him that every time. So he was normally done with his chemo around 2 o'clock, but he would call me around 12:30, 1 o'clock to tell me to start heading down because I had to go down to another town to pick him up. And I didn't hear from him. So I called the office about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they said, "Oh, well, we tried to call you. He complained of a headache. We took him to ER," which was connected right to the cancer clinic. So they called the wrong number. I don't know how they got the wrong number because I hadn't had the number that they called for several years, and they called me on the right number several times. Well, anyway, luckily my oldest son was home that day, and I asked him if he would go down with me. Just something in their voice, I just didn't understand, what was going on. So we got down to the ER, and they met me at the door. And right then I knew something was wrong. They met me at the door, and they said, "Well, how much do you know about your husband's condition?" And I said, "Well, all I know is he was here for a chemo treatment, complained of a headache, brought him over here." And the nurse said, "Well, there's been a change in his condition." I thought, okay, well, we've been down this road before. I, really wasn't prepared for what was about to happen. So what had happened was he did have a bad headache, excruciating headache. So they stopped the chemo. They took him over to the ER, and they did an MRI or a CAT scan of his brain, one of the two. And the first one was normal. So we thought, okay, he's going to come out of this. When I got down there, he was totally unresponsive. He wasn't responding to any stimuli or anything, not even my voice. And usually if he was bad off, he would at least raise his eyebrows or something if he would hear my voice or, my son's voice. Nothing. They had given him some morphine for the pain, and they were getting ready to send him home. And they got him up to walk him, how they do after you get a heavy drug, they walk you before they get you home. He passed out, and he never regained consciousness at all, ever. They did a second MRI, and it showed some bleeding on the brain. So they determined, they life-flighted him to a bigger hospital, thinking maybe he needed some other help. So I followed the helicopter, and I fully expected him to be wide awake when I got to the other hospital, because that's what he did. There was no change in his condition, and the doctors there told me there was nothing medically they could do for him. And we were keeping him alive really with machines. I was trying to get my other kids home because my daughter was going to have to come back from Idaho, and I had a son in Oklahoma. I was trying to get them home before, we did anything, and they just said he's not going to make it. And he started to become very toxic, so about a little bit after 4 o'clock on November 3rd in the morning, we had them turn off the machines because there's, at that point, no hope. He had been unconscious for almost 24 hours, and there was just no response. He died very peacefully. There was no gasping for air. He just simply stopped breathing, and his heart stopped. They told me what they think happened was that his white cell count had gotten so thick or so high that it was too thick to circulate. He had a stent put in his heart a few years earlier than that, and it couldn't go through the stent. So they believed that he had a cardiac arrest, which was caused by the leukemia. It was very sudden. That's the way he would have wanted to go. It was the last thing that we expected, and of course I was devastated. We had just celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, and it wasn't a shock that he died, but the way he died was a shock. We knew he was getting sicker, and matter of fact, he had called one of his cousins about a week before he died and told her that he didn't think he had much time left. He didn't tell me that. He always wanted me to believe that he was going to make it. So that's what happened with him. He had gotten so sick that there was no coming back from it. And although I knew how sick he was, and he was sort of in denial. I don't know if he was in denial really, or he was just in denial in front of me, because like I said, he didn't want me to know how sick he was. But he was sick through the night. I knew, and I was watching his blood counts. I would take copies of his blood counts, kind of compare them to the weeks before and stuff, and I knew it wasn't going in the right direction. And I have a nephew who's a doctor that I would question about things, and he would tell me the truth. And anyway, it was a shock. So this last year has been recovery from that. That alone would have been enough. But my second oldest son, who was attached to my husband at the hip, they were very, very close. Out of all my 5 children, they were the closest. Or he was the closest with my husband. He couldn't take it anymore. I mean, he didn't know what to do without his dad. And he became more and more depressed. In 5 months, 22 weeks to the day that we buried my husband, my 28-year-old son committed suicide in Chicago. It's where he was staying with his girlfriend, and it just got to a point where he didn't know what to do, and he didn't want to reach out for help. So I have had that to deal with, and that was just this past April that happened. So I started eating my depression, started gaining weight again. I lost a lot of weight after my husband died. I just couldn't eat. I was a nervous wreck. I started to come around, and then after Aaron committed suicide, I went the other way, and I put on about 20 pounds very quickly. And I started reaching out really to the YouTube community at that point then, because I knew I had to do something. I had to talk to somebody, even if it was just through my camera to you. Or I want to tell you, when I started watching Sandy and Carrie and Anita, they were a big part of my recovery, just because they made me laugh and they made me turn my attention away from how sad I was to understanding that I was worth investing things in me again. And it's been tough. I don't like being single. I have 4 living children, but they're grown. They're all adults. They don't need mom the way they used to. I mean, I think everybody always still needs their mom, but not the way they used to. They're very self-sufficient, and I'm proud of all of them for accomplishing the things that they're accomplishing with their lives. But it's a different life for me now. And I have got nobody else but myself and my dog. So I just wanted to fill you in. The perspective that I look at things might be a little bit different from what other people look at. There are still days like today. I've just been sad. I was up here a year ago. My daughter had to have gallbladder surgery, and so I was up here a year ago. And my son that died would call me every day that I was here. a lot of times more than one time a day. And I was just, today we're just kind of snowed in. We're getting a lot of snow up here in the Northwest. And um, I was just thinking about him, and I was just kind of sad. And I thought, no, I've got to get my feelings out somehow. So I thought I would tell all of you, my friends, that what happened. And that's why I struggle a lot with my weight, I think, is because I'm still learning how not to eat my depression. And I'm still learning how not to be depressed. And some days I don't do a very good job of it. Like today's not been a good day, although I've stayed on program today. And like I said, I am going to get a video up later tonight after I eat dinner of what I ate today and the calorie counts, because I'm still counting calories. But since I talk about my husband a lot and my son a lot, I thought you deserved to know what happened and what my life was like. I mean, we had a good life, but after my son died, I lost everything. We were living in the apartment that he had rented for us. My husband was a traveling salesman, so he didn't make a lot of money. And I retired a few years ago from teaching, but I didn't teach long enough to get a really good pension. So after Aaron died, I lost my home. The car that I was driving also belonged to Aaron. I had to give that back. It's not been an easy year. So, sorry I was interrupted there. But anyway, that's really all I was just done, I was pretty much telling you that it hasn't been an easy year, and it's not an easy life without them. So sometimes I get down. Most of the time I try to stay upbeat. Today's not one of those days. So now you know why I am the way I am. My dog is playing with her squeaky toy. I don't know if I can turn this camera around. I tried to do this the other day, to turn my camera around, but I think I just have to turn it around and show you my dog. Forgive my room here. I still haven't unpacked. There you go. Say hi, Molly. Say hi, Molly. Okay, here's Molly. She's one of the big reasons I came out here, was because I wanted to retrieve her again. So anyway, so thank you for indulging me and letting me tell you about what's been going on with me. I'm going to be back to my normal self, giving you guys tips again soon. Just today I've just been kind of down. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll be back later with my What I Ate Today video. So you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye.